Guys, so this is kind of an exciting thing for me because I'm not sure if you guys know there's a gate here, and every time I leave the place I have to get out of the car, open the gate, close the gate, open the gate, close the gate. And especially when, you know, our branch managers are here, that gate should be closed or else they'll just run off. So this is not a sponsored video. I spent my own money on this. And because I spent my own money on this, I can give you a very, very brutally honest review on this. So before we install anything, I'm just going to give you an overview of what I got. So sitting on top of our beautiful heat pump system, which obviously is not being used right now. The lines still need to go in. The roof stuff needs to get done. Yeah, there's a lot of things that need to be done before this can go in. Is my Mighty Mule MM371W. We have the arm, the control box, and I got an extra battery box, a metal sign that says keep gate closed, which I guess doesn't really matter, it's automatic. This battery, which I don't know if I should have gone lead acid, but that fits in that box, and it's a 12-volt system, so this makes sense. I did get 3 actually spare remotes, maybe more, I don't remember. I also have the small clickers from a previous garage that I had that I was thinking about using. I did get the wand. This is the wand you bury in the ground. So when you drive by, it opens automatically. You don't need anything. And I got the lock. This is a knockoff lock, actually. So this is made by Superform. It's the same thing as the Mighty Mule. It's just an electronic lock to keep the gate from flying open or someone to force it open. It's not super secure, but I mean, it's better than nothing. And I got this, but I still don't have the keypad yet, but this is the gooseneck, and people can get in. So that's pretty exciting to me. I'm hoping I don't have to redo the gate, but I might have to redo the gate. So I'm not quite sure when this video is going to come out, and it's also freezing cold. But, hi everyone. This here is my new gate. And you may be wondering, why is it not on the hole out there? Well, first off, this gate needs a couple of things. I picked this up from a local, it's called Rural King, so they just sell a bunch of random stuff, mostly for like farms and stuff, and this is considered a farm gate for controlling livestock. And obviously my livestock is a lot smaller than this, so I'm gonna have to do something about these holes. So that's number 1. 2, that gate out there measures actually 11 feet, and 11 feet actually isn't a standard size. These gates come in 2-foot increments, starting from 4 feet. So you have 4 feet, 6 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet, 12, 14, 16, 20. Generally after 16, it's hit or miss. Sometimes they come as 2 gates instead of 1. But one of the big things is access here is kind of a pain in the butt, especially when it's raining or snowing. So as you see, it rained today. So I picked this out of a lot of gates, and there's some issues with it. So we're going to address that. So first off, let's go look at some. For starters, this is a brand new gate, and you know, the hinges are welded, spot welded on the bottom, and this one allows you to slide up and down. That way it can go into you know, the pin. It is bent. The biggest deal, the issue with this gate is they lean them all up against each other, so there's a lot of abrasion marks here, and they leave them outside. So you can see that's rusting. Despite my best efforts of trying to find one that wasn't very bad, you can see that's a big rust spot there. It's impossible to find one that's not rusty. And also at the same time, the poor guy that's working there is going through all of them. The bottoms are actually also bent, and I'm just going to treat this with a product. It's called Rust Reformer. So essentially what it is it's tannic acid. It reacts with the iron 3 oxide, which is what rust is, and it converts it into iron tannaic. And tannaic is more reactive than oxygen, so in theory it should never rust ever again. So that's number 1. So our second problem is out here. So as you can see, there's a very good reason why this gate should be replaced. Number 1, it's been repaired multiple times. It's rusting towards the bottom. Something hit this, most likely a tree branch. The pole is kind of mangled in certain areas. I mean, here's another poor repair job. Here's another poor repair job. And yet again, another poor repair job. And obviously, if you can see the bottom here, it's completely rusted through. So this is completely rusted out. This is rusted out. And I mean, it operates okay still, but as you can see, the whole bottom is completely gone. So this gate itself is been okay for what we've needed it for, but a huge pain in the butt is during the winter time, opening and closing this is kind of a pain. And for me, I think having a gate opener would immensely save us some time. So the downside of this is this gate is actually 11 feet across. And even from post to post, I think it might be like 11 foot 3 inches. So we have two options here. The first one is to cut the gate down that we just bought, re-weld it, which probably isn't gonna look great. Option 2 is actually move this post over about a foot. So this post will end here. The gate will be bigger than the driveway, which I think should be okay. And essentially, I mean, if you look, you probably have till that sign. So let's say you have a larger truck pulling in here. It will allow the mirrors to probably clear through here without hitting, you know, anything, and that's it. And I think if I do move that sign, that also allows me to service it better and easier in the future, because I could just buy a standard size gate from now on instead of having a custom made gate or having to cut this down. So I think that's the plan. We're gonna move this post, but before we even do that, we're gonna have to figure out the hinge situation, and then we're gonna have to figure out, we're gonna mount the gate first and then see how far we need to move that, because I don't wanna assume how big that is and then mount it and then not fit.
Hey everyone, I assume you guys will know that this is footage from last year. So it has taken me a while to get this footage out just because this gate has not been finished yet. And the big thing was that Rusty Gate was really hard to operate after a while. The hinges started getting real crusty, and I kept on scraping the ground. So I picked this up, but my intention was always to get this on an automatic gate opener. And I've been kind of sick over the last couple days, and this weekend there was finally a nice day in which I was able to kind of finish this up and finally put the gate opener on it. Even though it's not fully complete, it is now operational, and that is why this video is coming out. But anywho, what's happening in this video is I'm just cleaning the gate up, and I am putting the rust reformer on, which once again is the active ingredient is tannic acid. I will leave a link on an article regarding how tannic acid works in certain environments, and if anyone's interested, feel free to read that.
Well, even if this entire gate had zero problems, where they put the gate hinge, you can tell it was painted after. And that was pretty apparent when you look at the bolt here. The bolt's painted. So to save time, they essentially just put this on and then painted over it. So that's gonna have to be cleaned. The bottom one is welded on. So I do have a set of stainless. I have a set of stainless hinges here, and these are much higher quality, but obviously these cost more than, you know, the production value of this gate, I suppose, since this gate was $120, and I think these hinges alone were probably like $30 by themselves, but these are really high quality. The only downside is one side of these actually is too small to fit on the post, but the post actually has pins on them already, so it's possible I could just use half of this. Sorry, this is hard to do with one hand, but the top half, and then drop them into the existing pins. Well, that should sum it up. You can see there's a lot of imperfections. Like I said, it was a budget gate. This is $120, $127 after tax, something like that, under 130 bucks. A regular driveway gate would cost a lot more than that. And the rest of this, do not pour back into the bottle because it's already catalyzing. So you just discard that. You can clean the brush and use it later if it doesn't harden, but you need a lot of water to kind of like clean that up. So that should be it. We're gonna let this sit for about 24 hours or so, clean up. We did do a measurement of this gate, and the funny thing is it is about 2 inches longer than the opening. Once in 24 hours, I'm gonna flip this over again, and under the bottom side of the tubes, there's a lot of rust in there because it's been sitting outside. So I'm gonna do that, and then once that's done, we're waiting on these hinges to come in Friday. So these are perfect for this. and these are way better than the hinges that came on it, which I can show you over here. So the hinges that came on it, I think I threw it out, but they're basically these. They're really bad. It's very sloppy, very loose, and essentially my goal really is to have this swing as nice as possible, and it's really loose. I mean, it was designed for farm animals, and the farm animals I have are Boost and Turbo. I think they might be too fat to fit through this, but I'll be putting some mesh or fencing along the bottom side of this so they do not escape. And also, I think maybe this bar in the middle here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One of these center bars, maybe the slightly lower one. I will, actually probably the higher one, this one. I'm gonna try to drill a hole on the bottom, clean that up, put a grommet, because I do have an electronic gate lock that's gonna go on one side. And instead of zip tying the wire on the outside, it would be nice to be able to just run it straight in the middle here, through the tube, and out the other side. It's not going to compromise the structural rigidity or anything. These are just tack welded in and painted on the side. Plus, I mean, it's 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 6 bars. So I think it should be okay. So one of these center ones. So that's on the list of things to do, and I'll check back with you guys soon. Hey guys, today we're finally going to remove this raggedy old gate.
Alright, so this gate is finally coming down. The hinges are pretty rusty, so this took a little bit of time, mostly just getting it off the tube itself. So the original gate is actually significantly heavier than the farm gate we're putting up right now. So this post should do fine, and you can see our branch manager, aka the livestock we are trying to contain here, moving around. And she is definitely too fat to fit through those bottom grates, so I think we're okay. But small cats and stuff like that can still get through, which I'm really not too concerned. Just mostly trying to keep the dogs in is the primary goal of this gate, and also unwanted visitors out. So this is it finally hung.
We have a colossal issue here now. The original gate here that was placed here is not level, and now this is level. So if you look, I'm gonna throw the level on. Alrighty. That is pretty much dead plumb. So our issue is we have these gate hinges which are non-adjustable. So as you see, we have a considerable gap. But the ones we took off, actually, crazy enough, do kind of seem like they could potentially fit. I mean, does this look hideous? Absolutely. But will it keep the gate together? That's what I'm worried about. All right.
So, long story short, that did not work at all. They are clamped on with these U-bolts, and they do not fit very well onto these smaller tubes. So, I decided having a slightly out of level gate is fine. The roadway, if you look behind where the street is, it's actually sloped. That's why this gate looks very crooked. And I did try to put the gate opener lock on it to see how far we need to move that, and a lot of adjustment. But ultimately, in the end, I decided putting the original hinge on that goes with that hinge is probably the best case scenario. I did put replace the bottom one as well, and after a lot of adjusting and fidgeting, we were finally able to get this fully placed up. But once again, this was last year, and I've been using this gate for a while, and opening and closing it is much nicer than the other one. However, once again, when it's raining, when it's snowing, inclement weather, you are still having to get out of the car. Alright, now this is present day. This happened literally this last weekend, while I was still a little bit sick, but feeling a little bit better. My friend Christy came by to kind of lend a hand. Essentially, this is the area where we're mounting the brackets now and getting the gate opener arm on there. Ideally, you want the gate opener to be in the middle somewhere of the gate. So this is the closest beam to the middle. I drilled some pilot holes so I can direct these lag bolts, well actually they're carriage bolts, through, and I use a step drill to kind of open those holes up. It turns out that step drill is not very sharp, so I end up getting a new drill bit anyway, and the WD-40 there I'm just using as cutting fluid to lubricate everything, and there I am test fitting that rod going through. So that's the bracket there. Temporarily right now, I'm just putting these two bolts through. Originally, I was going to do all 4, but I'm afraid it might weaken this very old rusty fence post a little bit too much. So later on, what I do plan on doing is putting a bracket that basically braces this post to either the wall or to the grass behind the wall. Also considering putting in mortar into the post or some sort of concrete slurry. That way there's a little bit more substance in that post to prevent it from twisting. So I'm just adjusting the closed position right now, the open position, sorry, where the attachment point should be. So Mighty Mule does give you this ruler. You can see that white ruler there. And they state this needs to fit between the gate opener and the gate, which is 100% not happening here. It won't even fit vertically in there. So I don't know how that would affect operation. I will put some stops on both sides just to prevent it from immediately slamming into the gate opener. But I think there is enough clearance. There's probably a finger width of clearance between the gate and the gate opener. And right there, I'm using the level to make sure that the gate opener is actually slightly out of level. I want it to slope slightly towards the far end of the opener, towards the end of the gate. That way, any sort of water or moisture, debris will roll down towards gravity out away from the inside of the motor. If it was the other way, water will just slowly creep into the motor, which probably won't be pretty good. So here's a couple more testings just to make sure everything is okay. This gate does have its own issues. It will clack hitting that post, but that's something that I need to fix later. Basically, I just temporarily for now, I put some silicone couplers on the gate just to prevent the metal on metal contact, which is kind of loud. So this so far preliminarily works. I do end up programming, I think, 9 remotes to this. So basically, one for each one of my friends that comes by normally, and then one for each one of the cars, and a couple backups. So this hopefully will make life a lot easier. So this is just it, opening and closing a couple times, just testing it. And I have to figure out a way to mount this box somewhere that's out of the way and easy to access. Alright guys, so here's the gate opener kind of mocked up. So we have a couple issues right now. Well, one of the first issues is, according to the manual, this needs to be a lot further apart than this, but the issue is this bracket isn't long enough. I guess I might need a new bracket, because basically this bracket, if I move it further in, like one hole over, this will bind and hit this. But also the key here is, if this bracket is longer, there's a potential, and I move it over, there's a potential I might hit the wall, which also isn't great. So this is real close, and that's why that is spaced over there. So we have a couple pieces of wood and a rubber stopper here at the bottom, and that's why that's spaced there. So now it does close, so there it is, closing. It will hit this and then bounce. So for now, I think maybe I'll put like a coupler here, like a coupler for a silicone coupler from like my car, and that will prevent, you know, this from making that noise. I do have a lock mechanism, but obviously this post needs to be removed. So that's next up. 2, this corner here is a bit on the wobbly side. So it's only held in through these 2 bolts. I mean, I could put 4 bolts, but it's the twisting action. It would be more beneficial if there was like a support bracket that came across or connected to this to kind of offset the balance of this. I could potentially fill this with mortar just to give it a little bit more mass. And the last thing is this control box and cable are too short. So I don't necessarily, they want it to be 4 feet above the ground, just in case it snows. And I don't necessarily want it to be behind the gate. So in case you're accessing it, you don't want the gate to just open and hit you. So ideally it would be past the gate, which is right about here, which means I'm gonna have to extend that cable. Which really isn't that big of a deal. It's just that I just wanna make sure, you know, there's no losses and whatnot. I'll just use a heavier gauge cable. And then I need to attach the solar charger to this, and this is the battery box. It allows you to use 2 batteries in parallel for more amp hours. So that's that, and this is the preliminary mock-up, I guess. So I'm gonna do some Deutsch connectors for those to extend it,
and then I could run the power line all the way to the side where I can run a solar panel. But temporarily right now, this is what it looks like. And I mean, it does open. So, and this is the last thing, is that since that is close, it is bouncy when it hits the end. So as you see, boom, bounces. I don't know how to get rid of that. And I don't honestly think that's probably good for that. It would be better if this was some sort of spring that held a slight bit of tension on it. I'm not really quite sure, but we'll try to figure that out later.
This is a mere day later, and I've decided this box being mounted straight onto the wall is probably the easiest way to do it. And the only downside of this is the wall isn't flat, it's rock, and it's over 100 years old. So originally I did not want to actually drill into this this rock. And after looking around, I started realizing there are a lot of holes already drilled into this wall, for starters. Two, there's a lot of mortar joints, since this isn't like a regular block or anything. There's a lot of mortar joints and stuff that I could probably drill into. And eventually, I have to probably redo those mortar joints anyway, since they're pretty old. So I figured 4 small holes probably is not going to be the end of the world, and later on, if I want to, I can also replace this if need be. So I'm just mounting the control box there. This is far enough in that it would be rather difficult for someone to just reach in and flip the switch off, which was my first initial concern. So this is a pretty tedious process. It's a lot of testing. There's a memory function on this unit, so it's supposed to be able to test the force required to open and close this gate. I'm not sure if that's true or not, because after opening and closing it a bunch, it did not seem like it got any better or any worse for that matter. So I just want to make sure that, you know, everything is working properly so I don't get stranded, and I don't have to hop this fence, for instance, to open this gate later, which will be a bigger pain in the butt than actually just opening it manually. I suppose worst comes to worst, I could always just remove the pins and swing the gate opener out of the way, which is also another concern, I suppose, if you're worried about security. They sell a gate lock, which locks the pins. It looks like a padlock with a lock on it, and those are actually surprisingly expensive too. They're like, I think $100 for a pair or something crazy for just that, and I'm trying to avoid that, so I'm on a budget here. So anyways, basically, I'm just trying to tuck these wires out of the way just to make sure everything is not getting pinched in operation, which is a concern here just because the post is really, really close to the actual gate. So next up is the battery box that has to get mounted. And the control box, by the way, and this drives me absolutely nuts, is it does look like it's crooked. And it's actually not. I even brought out the laser level, and it's pretty straight. And here's just the neighbor's landscaper coming by to talk some shop about some things. Yeah, so I took the laser level out. It's actually pretty level. The only downside is that this rock wall isn't flat. So whenever you mount something on it, even with standoffs, which is what I did, it kind of is, it looks slanted. And just because the lines aren't straight and stuff, but I did measure it multiple times, and it is actually pretty level. So here's me drilling the battery box now. The battery box is a little more of concern just because it's pretty heavy. This was kind of cute. One of the neighbor's kids, as you see, he's walking down. He was really interested in the drill, so he wanted to play with it. So I let him play with it, and then he left. But anyways, back to work. The battery box is now mounted. This is still not 3 feet off the ground, but I don't think we get enough snow to worry about snow kind of like creeping up to this. And I guess I just have to spend extra attention to make sure that snow doesn't get all the way up to this and start creeping into the gate opener. But obviously, if it gets that high, I'll have trouble opening the gate as well. So I'm pretty sure I'll have to shovel or plow that out of the way anyways. So this is it preliminarily mounted. I know this will drive most people nuts because it drives me nuts, is that the two boxes are not level with each other. And the reason for that is, once again, the rocks are not level with each other.
I wouldn't say she's the prettiest, and I did debate on moving it further, but there's no point really. The rock wall isn't really flat, so that's why they don't sit flat. it is level, but the rock wall makes it look not level because it's tweaked one way and the other. But so far, I mean, it does its job. The only downside is now I need to find a way to charge these 2 batteries because, I mean, I need to run solar, but we have so many trees, as you see up here. There's so many trees, so it doesn't get sun. So I need to run like a 100-foot, 150-foot line over there to where it gets sun. So I plan on putting a 30 or 25 watt solar panel and running probably a 16 gauge or maybe a 12 gauge wire all the way down here to charge those batteries. So hopefully that works out. And I mean, like I said, it does open and close. It is bouncy, so I need to figure out how to fix that. But I'm still kind of recovering from being a little bit sick, and hopefully we'll get more on track on videos. I am still doing stuff on the roof. It's just slow going. It's really hot and it does rain quite a bit. So we're at that point where what I did realize is there's a bunch of dirt on the roof. What I thought was dirt actually is soot from like the olden coal mining days. So anyways, I hope you guys have a good week and I'll see you next week. Thanks.